Hi, this is Barbara Sanders, and it is August 2nd, 2026. And I'm excited. So I wanted to talk and just see if you want to listen. Feel free to turn it off at any point. Let's see, this is Soul Speak with my YouTube channel, Sacred Metamorphoses. And my website is sacred-transformation.com if you want to learn more about me. And you can find other things out too. I want to do a couple of things today. One is I just watched Disclosure Day on Prime Video, and I want to talk about that off the top of my head or inside from my heart. And then I want to shout out some people who have really been wonderful mentors and friends and teachers to me lately. And then I want to read a little piece that I wrote about the Odyssey. So I think it was last weekend. I went to see the Odyssey with my husband at the the theater, the right theater to go to. And this just a little while ago, I watched Disclosure Day on my computer. So both of these movies are incredibly wonderful to me. And it's funny, I've been a psychotherapist for over 30 years, and maybe I'll become in my new life at my age a movie reviewer or a TV series reviewer, because I love TV series that are good and movies that are wonderful. I don't tend to watch as many movies as I do TV series. But anyway, I'm just making a joke here about my new profession, which is not critic, but supporter of things that I like. And I was fumbling with my words a little while ago. It's IMAX theater that I saw the Odyssey in. So you can tell where this is going, my aging brain and me. Okay, so let me just say a few things. I'm going to drop in a little bit and breathe so I can come up with some things I want to say about Disclosure Day, which I don't think is as good as the Odyssey. It's not rated well. I almost didn't watch it, but I thought, there's something stirring in me about um, all of these energies in the world and outside of the world and in stellar space and cosmic space and in Mother Earth. There's all this stuff going on, and it moves me to want to travel deeper into some of these spaces. And I love good art, and some of these movies and TV series I may talk about at some point are great art, I think. Um, One of my favorite things to do is to watch those kind of series. So let me breathe a little bit and start with Disclosure Day. So when I breathe, I try to open up sacred space, and I'm not going to take a long time to do a meditation, but I call in sacred space, which includes anything and everything around me that can support me and be a resource to me as I'm talking about some things that are important to my heart. That could be, in some people's languages, spirit guides, gods, goddesses, friends, family, those who have died, our former lives, our future lives. It could be any kinds of living energies that are accessible, I think, to all of us and available to us if we can find ways to stop all that we do. We can't stop our mind chatter too well, but we can stop, breathe, try to release some of the tensions and constrictions and anxieties and nervousness that go along with being human. Our bodies can relax and rest more, and that we can hear better, listen better to the messages that might be coming from within us, from Mother Earth, from galactic space, from friends, families, and teachers and mentors, if we can stop and be still and listen. Okay, so I'll just start talking about Disclosure Day. I wasn't going to watch it because I wasn't sure it was very good, but I I looked back, 1982, E.T. Extraterrestrial, 1982. So I was 30 years old at the time, or around 30. And I watched E.T. and fell in love, like most of the people I know did, with E.T. and all the family around E.T. And so now in 2026, Disclosure Day is published, which is, I wrote down 44 years between ET and Disclosure Day. Many movies or TV series that seem to be about Disclosure Day seem to be very traumatic, like the Titanic, or just all these sci-fi movies that the end of the world or the apocalypse is coming and we're all running around scared and very frightening. I didn't find that at all with Disclosure Day. It certainly had a lot of good action and adventure, great casting and acting, I thought. And Emily Blunt is just fabulous. And what I left with is, first of all, the ending, which I will not share right now. I'm not going to talk about the ending, but it is worth watching the movie all the way through to see how you feel at the ending. It's just beautiful. Excuse me. But one of the things the movie pointed out was needing both mathematics and empathy. And I just thought that was simple but brilliant. We need mathematical minds, the masculine side, which is really sort of, yeah, the side, and empathy, which seems to be a more feminine term, but it's where we can not have sympathy or pity or all those things necessarily, but we can put ourselves figuratively or spiritually or energy-wise into another person's space or aura or set of energies to try to understand them instead of immediately hating them or loving them or whatever we do. First impressions are very important. But if being a psychotherapist, if I had a new client walk in and I was immediately concerned or distressed about, I'm not sure I'm a good person for this person, as I would get into knowing them, I would feel totally different about the person. You know, some people have done heinous, horrible things to each other. People do that to each other all around the world and in our city and town and state. We've all made mistakes. We've all hurt other people. We've all hurt our children if we have children, and we've hurt each other, our loved ones, and we didn't mean to. I'll often tell my husband, I didn't intend to hurt you. And he'll say, I know you didn't. I hope I know you didn't, because if you did, that would be really horrible. And it still might have hurt him, whatever it was that I did. I'm pretty clumsy, so I bump into him at times, which is one thing that is a problem. But anyway, empathy, you don't have to have empathy for everybody, but if you don't have that natural skill of empathy and can look behind some of the exterior behaviors and outsides and personas and false selves of people, just the behaviors, then you may miss a lot of wonderful, amazing people. And I think I naturally have some gifts of empathy, and it's gotten to me into trouble sometimes. I'll say that too, because there's some highly sensitive people that I know out there in the world, all over the world, and I'm veer toward that area. But if you're highly sensitive, having lots of empathy can be a struggle, because if you walk in a room and read the room sort of through energy, there's a lot of dynamics going on with groups of people in the world and in classrooms and in meetings and in families. And if an empath, a true empath, and I don't know if there's black or white empath and not empath, I think it's like anything, it's on a spectrum and a range. But if I'm down at the more sensitive area, past the middle a little bit, life can be a bit of a struggle because I'm hearing noises, I'm seeing lights that don't always please me. um, I'd rather sleep in the dark, for instance. Light is wonderful. I love the sun. I've said these things before, but I can go into the dark and be much more at peace and comfortable with myself instead of being highly stimulated from the outside world. And that may be just how I came into the world. That may be coping mechanisms and survival instincts and defenses. Anyway, back to Disclosure Day. So Disclosure Day is full of good acting, probably pretty good philosophy and theology, people, human beings fighting together and thinking they know what's best for the world and differing on what that is, which is just exactly what happens every day in our lives. And then there's some heroes, and sheroes, who have some amazing abilities. And I'm realizing as I'm talking, I really can't say much about the movie now that I'm thinking about it, because you have to just watch it and see it and witness for yourself. You do need to be able to suspend your disbelief and go into a sort of sci-fi fictional world. However, I think of Disclosure Day is um, mm, in whatever reality I'm thinking in, a pretty accurate description or an interesting imaginative perception of what may be going on in our world in the last 70 years or so. Gosh, I was born right into that time. Um, and you can see what you make of it. But anyway, I would highly suggest that you watch that at some point. I want to shout out some of my mentors and teachers just because I want to acknowledge them, and I've got a few new ones. And I did make a list of these. I want to shout out to Sandy Muller, who is a healing energy, amazing, gifted person here in Nashville and Switzerland. She goes back and forth. Kim Matthews, who I've only gotten to know in the last year or so, in her own way, is a wonderful mentor and teacher to me, and energy healer for me. Tammy Roth, who I mention a lot of times on my talks and websites and things like that. Tammy is a gifted family constellations person, practitioner, expert who has dabbled in and goes into astrology and family constellations uh, with astrology. And I'm now in an online class with her called Eros Unbound. And I've been doing a Pythia process with her, who's the Oracle of Delphi, and so and so. And I've done work with Tammy for many years now. I think I started during COVID after she moved from Nashville, and now she lives in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Went on a dream retreat recently with her leading, and it was wonderful. Dr. David Clements, who is one of my favorite new people from the last year. He, Infinite Source Creations is one of his websites, and he does free and pay for meditations and talks about his work with and discovery of his gifts, which were not just being an educated, Cambridge and Oxford educated physicist, but he had a change over 20 years ago and became much more of a spiritual, open being to all sorts of beings like Arcturians and Pleiadians and Sirians. And I listen to him as often as I can. Pam Gregory is an astrologer, and I'm not an astrologer, but I love hearing about things. And she interviews David Clements a lot. So you might want to listen to some of the interviews Pam Gregory does with David Clements. They're all on YouTube. Mindy and Joe McNulty, I just want to shout out to them because they have been friends and colleagues and mentors for me as well here in Nashville. Vicki Spray is in Florida and was my spiritual counselor for the last few years and helped me grow by leaps and bounds by the way she approaches being both human and divine at the same time. Uh, we really need to get down how to be human first before we can really move into that divine space. But we do move in and out of divine space all the time. Sometimes our humanness and our traits and characteristics and things we've learned and conditioning get in the way of that. And Vicki has been wonderful in helping me remove some of those blocks and barriers to getting more in touch with myself, my family of origin, life energies, and I want to thank her for that, Vicki Spray. Also, let's see, someone new to me, I will say, is a woman who writes on Substack. She is an astrologer, calls it psychological astrology, and she goes by Far Stellar. It's Farstellar, Far Stellar. And if you want to get a reading with her or read some of her Substack articles, she's brilliant and has a way of connecting us with ourselves, with spirit, and with astrology in such a way that it makes sense and is just deep and wonderful. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, I want to also thank my circle that was formed a couple of years ago now. Maybe it's called Sacred Revolution. And that's a group that I started, a circle of women who meet monthly usually. And we have become a very close-knit group who share collaboration and facilitation of our meetings. And we go into wonderful spaces and places of artistic creativity and deep inner work and just all sorts of places. I wanted to thank that group. Let's see, I want to thank my family, friends, and all my mentors and teachers. So that's what I'll say about that. And now I'm going to read you the little piece that I wrote about a week ago on the Odyssey, because it was really amazing. We did go to the IMAX theater in Nashville, and the vibrations that just beamed into me while I was sitting in this theater with all these other people were just graphic and deep and wondrous, and just I vibrated the whole time I was watching this movie. The sound systems are great and the music is fabulous. The beat is wonderful. All the music is fabulous. So I'm gonna read you something I wrote very briefly. It's called Reflections on the Odyssey. And I wrote, as we take our seats at an IMAX theater, feel the rumbling, churning beat at the beginning and at the end of the Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. Throughout the movie, notice your body resonating with and absorbing its deep, thunderous beats and sounds, its glorious visuals. Our entire bodies can be swept up by fantastical creations. Allow this to happen. Know this, and this is there are two lists here. Know this, Zeus's law about being hospitable to travelers and strangers is fabulous guidance. That's Zeus's law. Starving, stressed men can turn into swines. There are many monsters to encounter as we move from a primarily self-centered life to one when we remember where we came from. We must surrender, give up, give in, and trust so that we can find our ways home. War is evil. Human beings kill each other and civilizations suffer. We can choose to fight violently or to kneel down and make peace with humanity and with the gods. And you can substitute for the gods any words you like, whether it's the divine, great mysteries. Some other reflections, another list. Fear is real and can prompt torture, pain, and death, emotionally and physically. There is so much more to life than white Christian supremacists spouting off about beauty and dark-skinned people, trans people, and beggars. And this pertains mostly to the bad reviews that some people in our country need to continue to spout off. I'll say that again, because they're fearful and afraid of anything different than themselves. And they're often white people and white nationalists. And they must be so frightened not to be able to look outside of their bubble of how they are human and see differences out there and not be able to have empathy or not be able to have acceptance or acknowledgement that we people are all very different. Even if you look like me because I'm white, I am very different than you are. Skin colors, gender, oppressed peoples, immigrants, all those things are bound up in this story as well. We are all unique human beings with different bodies, minds, and hearts. Don't upset the gods too much. Listen to the goddesses. This is the Odyssey's instructions in my mind or heart. Monsters are real and can be deadly. Pursue your monsters carefully. And I would add to that, be careful around monsters too, unless you want to take a sword and try to chop their heads off. But isn't it easier to try to run away or to get away instead of try to be violent toward another living being of any sort, whether they're giants or animals? When war happens, things fall apart. The center cannot hold, or so says W.B. Yeats in The Second Coming. I love The Second Coming. You should look up that poem, and there are not many shoulds in life, but that poem is incredible. And my last part of the list is Karma May Be Real. If you haven't seen the Odyssey or Disclosure Day, please see them because they are a part of our culture. They're part of this time in our world. I love to listen to David Clements and the astrologers who are seeing that the world and our astrologies and the universe and multiverses are all changing. At this time, they always do change, but at this time, it's like we're at the ripening of the fruit that we've, put our roots down way down deep into Mother Earth. We've grown from seeds to little tiny plants, big, strong trunks and branches, and now we're reaching up to the skies. And it's time for the fruit. The blossoms came and the blossoms went. The blossoms will come back, and so will the fruit. But this is what we're ripe for these days. And these movies and some others have something to say about all that. And I appreciate your listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your August full of eclipses and this year and the rest of your lives. Many blessings, and thanks for listening. Bye.